Well, hi, and thanks for joining me here in my shop. So, after thinking for a couple of days about this radio and its broken volume control and its half working, half not working state, and the fact that you can apply a little bit of heat to this volume control pins and it comes back and works fine, I'm encouraged to take another run at this. So, I've got a new instrument in town. I've got a better microscope or close-up viewer. I can take a much closer look at all this, and what I see myself doing is removing this component, the control here, out, and testing the living daylights out of the radio and the part to try to resolve exactly where the problem is. So I'm going to do a lot of this off camera because it's going to be very, very fiddly. Starting with getting everything set up for a little close-up look. Yeah, let me do that. Okay, after mocking up a number of ways to get my new microscope camera into position, which is tricky to focus, tricky to aim, tricky all around, this is what I kind of came up with. It's a little clunky, and my vise here is ice cold. It came out of my garage. It's minus 10 degrees, this thing. So, anyway, this is what it took to get this image. Okay, what good is this? So what we're looking at are the first, we're looking at basically 5 pins there. You can see the upper ones, let's call them, have traces coming from them, and the 2 lower ones have no trace. The trace is on the other side of the board. So those are the two lower ones are the pins, particularly the lowest one, pin number 1. If I apply heat to that, the problem will correct itself. If I apply heat to the number 2 there, the problem will correct itself, but it takes longer. And then lastly, if I can manage to get this on camera here. Oh, so that's the ground terminal there down towards the lower right of the image. And it really doesn't look like it's soldered in at all, does it? So all these 3 connections, which are all grounded, should be grounded, which I'm very suspicious they are not. One of them anyway. You know, it's a 1-channel thing, so it can't be the bracket. In fact, again, I think the bracket plays no role. That's the larger blob there in the lower part. The first 2 are to be grounded, yet when I apply an external ground to those pins, nothing happens. Did I try? So what I'm trying to do is I'm thinking very hard before I go through the steps of removing that component, because A, it's risky every time you do something like that, and B, I don't see how it's going to work, and 3, I had a bad experience last time around doing this. It was a major effort. I got it back in there. Do I really want to take it out? If the problem is not inside the control, there's just no reason to remove it. But how could the problem not be within the control? What if I solder ground wires right off those points and bring them over to a known ground, just as I've tried? I've done this with clip leads. Son of a gun. If I take the component out and the problem is in the component, it's pretty hard for me to detect it once it's out of the board here. It's just awkward to try to mimic the problem coming and going. And when I performed tests on it when it was out, it did not misbehave one bit. So strange. What else could it be other than these 2 pins are not solidly grounded? What else can it possibly be? There's a lot of setup effort there for really, you can't really see your way through these things. I mean, okay, but I did get a better platform here for the microscope, which is aimed up right now. think I got some suggestions that I should get rid of the weak. And I agree, the weak stand. So this one is much firmer. Higher too. Still have the little focus thing. Excellent. Great find. Didn't help though this time. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try grounding these things again. I'm going to just try poking around with a ground contact very carefully in here and just see if I can't. I'm also going to deal with the left channel, right channel thing and sort that out and sort out a bunch of stuff. Oh my. I really want this radio to work. Okay, I got another idea here. This is a stereo receiver. One channel's in trouble. But normally I'm listening to it with just its single built-in speaker, and I'm listening to mono station, shortwave AM. When it comes to FM, you know, I have other radios that I listen to FM, and even FM, it can only produce stereo out those connections at the back or out of the headphones. The built-in speaker can't do it. I wonder what they do. I wonder if they just send one channel to that speaker. That doesn't make sense, does it? You would think somehow they would combine the left and right channels and force them into the one speaker somehow. So maybe the name of the game here, if that's the case, is to disable the channel that produces the hiss and turn this into a mono receiver. And goodbye to the, you know, it wouldn't hurt me one bit. Goodbye to the stereo effect. The fact is, the stereo output's coming out of here. When I'm using this radio in its normal operating position, the stereo comes out and it's a Y cable. It just joins together and becomes mono and goes on into my sound system. So even if I try playing FM, even if it isn't stereo coming out of here, in its normal operating position, all I hear, you know, this doesn't make sense at all. All I hear is mono, and if I pick this radio up and take it out on my deck, guess what? I'm bringing out one speaker. It's mono again, and I'm not going to listen to FM with this radio anyway. So this is my new idea. My new idea is try to forsake the bad half and get the good half of this control to not only feed its good signal on in its own channel, but to feed that same signal on into the other channel. Sounds to me like all I got to do is separate the slider from the bad channel, like discontinue that circuit, and then just tie it over to the good channel. It sounds like a really easy thing to do. In fact, I can do it in a way that's probably can be undone. Okay, I'm gonna pursue this idea a little bit here. Okay, yeah, man, sometimes you can work really hard at trying to get something to do something that really in the end doesn't even matter that much. And that's kind of what I've been doing here for a long time. So this is the trace I want to break off. Say goodbye to you. This might be, I'm using my Finnish fish knife here to do this. Interesting, eh? It's really buried down in here. There might be a better way to do this than to dig it out. Okay, here we go. How'd we do? It sure looks open circuit now. Let's check it. Open circuit from here Oop, just checking the meter from here to here. Good show. And when I do the other one, better not be. Perfect. Okay, so I've disabled one channel passive volume control. So the noise that's coming out of the volume control will no longer make it into the radio. This is disabled one channel. This is maybe the one channel that is fed to the speaker. So I will solve that by simply feeding the good channel signal into the bad channel, and therefore both channels will have a good signal. It just sounds so wonderful. I'm sure there's a problem coming. That's kind of how I see this. So I need a nice light wire. A nice light piece of wire there. Let's try this. Nice light piece of wire. My soldering iron going. So that's the lead from a capacitor. It's just a very nice light piece of wire that goes in there very easily. So I'll solder that first. Just want it to go in a little bit. Not too far. Like that. Okay, stay right there. Don't go anywhere. Yeah, don't go anywhere. Hope this works out the way I want it to here. Put a little solder there. Swing this around the way I want it. Continuing with the fish knife experience. There we go. Solder that to that spot. And we're done. I think this is it. Did I get it there? So I am going to have to shove the wire down into it. Well, seems to be there. Okay, let's give it a test now. How are we going to test this? How do we test this? We test this by putting on the headphones first, so I can hear what's going on. Turn the volume down. Apply the power. Give her a sec to come back to life. Okay, switch on. Making sure we're listening with the speaker output. We are. This is FM. Seems to be no problem. Just based on the hiss. Well, you know, this is where I've ended up. It's actually not the end of the world for me. Let's cut this off here. Little bridge still there. Fantastic. Now, I really want to take a look at the quality of the solder there because I think it's just barely on. So let's do that. No, you know what? That's not too bad. I mean, it's ugly. It's not too bad. You can see the solder has flowed onto the pad there. Excellent. We're done. We're done. Let's say it again. We're done. Okay, I'm going to put this radio back together. Okay, another test before I get too far into reassembling this. I've got the speaker plugged back in. Let's give it a go here. Nothing's screwed together yet. Silence. It's perfect. Turn up the volume. Son of a gun is barely any volume. Ah! do this. And what is that sound anyway? I got the volume up full blast. What is that? A disappointing result. Full blast. You know what? This has not worked out. I'm going for 91.5 here. Didn't hear a darn thing. Oh. Good. No, not so good. Yes, good. Almost not so good. I suddenly thought this was still connected to the video sound, but no, I unplugged it. So all we can possibly hear is what's coming out of the speaker right now. Volume is full. I think what we're hearing is the hiss from an amplifier with no input. So I think what I've done is, we have the two channels, one of which goes all the way to the speaker here. The other one does not go to the speaker, but will energize the stereo output. And what I've done is, this doesn't make sense, does it? Because the speaker was on full blast when I broke the volume control. Now I interrupted the speaker signal and replaced it with this one. Why isn't this making any sound? Oh, you know what I mentioned about how they must take the stereo and put it back into mono. They don't have to do this, but they could be doing this, monoizing it for the single speaker when you have it in FM. I'm going to have to study the schematic and try to figure out what's going on, because this isn't... How many times am I going to fix this guy? Many times.
Within the feather that creates that color. The sunlight comes through the feather, bounces off the bottom, and creates yellows, a color depending on the depth of that.
So it's coming through both channels in the headphones just fine.
Red, if it's even broader, it's orange, or in the yellow.
Not the headphones. This is the speaker jack on the back. I'm going to show you that on the schematic in a minute. So it's coming out of both my ears.
Why do you think they have that light dependent?
We'll go back to the speaker. Oops, just some loose wires, but not to worry about that stuff. Okay, so now the only thing you can hear is what is coming through speakers here in my shop. Wow, that's like nothing at all. Just barely coming out of here. It's almost as if I have a line level coming out, and that's all. It's not at all. Let me show you the schematic, and just scratch your head here with me. You know what? Okay, so here's the part of the schematic, and the part we want to look at is right over here. It says inside speaker. And there's the little jack that I'm plugging the speaker in. Right below it is the speaker jack for taking a speaker level output. This is what we've been listening to. I've been fitting this through the microphone mixer. You can see it's a stereo arrangement. There's one wire, two wires, three wires. A stereo arrangement. And that's true, because we were listening to it in stereo through the microphones. So how do they hook up the speaker? Here, what have they done here? So if we look really close, you see a ground. This is really weird what they've done. something more going on. Okay, stick with this. You got the both leads going to the speaker, going to the left channel, right channel. Well, this doesn't make any sense to me at all. If you do this, if you hook up a speaker between the live legs of a left channel, right channel type thing, what ends up happening is you eliminate any balanced sound in the left channel, right channel. So whatever was going to be in the center of your listening, if you have two speakers going, if you had two speakers going, with this arrangement, this speaker will not produce. So for instance, the announcer's voice will disappear. Anything in the center will disappear. You'll still hear the side sounds. Well, how the heck, why, what? Why would they ever do that? I must be missing something here. So you plug in, conceivably you mechanically move this part upwards and it opens a switch here. That makes sense, sure. So when you push in the jack, you unplug the speaker, both wires. Okay, so maybe no. Maybe I got this totally wrong. Maybe this is a ground. No, this is stereo. We heard stereo come out of this, and this is certainly the ground here. Earful. Electrolytic capacitor to the ground. And then down here is the earphone. This is hard to figure out what they're doing here. It's the earphone on the front. So here's the two signal channels coming down here. One goes there, one goes there. No surprise. So it's just some difficult way of showing the earphone jack. I don't know, why does it look any different than the way they showed this one? Why would they show it so different? Why? So it looks like there's a resistor here, or maybe it looks like a resistor on the ground return. Probably to pad down the level here. So the thing is, the mistake I've made here is, not really a mistake, but I've been listening here on the Spurker, by the way. That's a Spurker output. That looks like I think that's a Spurker too, maybe. I've been listening with a microphone mixer, and without realizing it, yeah, Spurkers. It's a Spurker. That might be a speaker, but this is a Spurker. I've been listening using microphone mixer to the output here, a speaker level output. But of course with the microphone mixer I can easily turn up the levels so a tiny signal here sounds like a big beast. I think that's what I've done. But then when you actually listen to the signal here with a speaker, what do you hear? You hear almost nothing. Why would that happen? Because of what I did with the volume control? So the volume controls are down here. Here's one here, and the other one is here. Up through a big capacitor. Well, a capacitor, not a big capacitor, a capacitor. I wonder if I popped one of these. No. A mechanical shock to the volume control. Well, this is going way up here. Well, this looks like an output. Okay, so I'm going the wrong way. This is the output here. Emitter follower or something like that. Output through here to ground. Now, we take off a piece here. Yeah, that's right. Take off a piece here. This is going further. We feed it down here. Same thing over here. So into pins 5 and 8 of this chip comes the left and right channels. The output, can you spot it? The output is on 2. And I bet you 11. Follow 2. Follow 2. Look at that. Wait. It's not supposed to be output on this ring. That's usually the ground. There's more here. What is all this? So this looks like a switch. this looks like a switch arrangement. It looks like, wow, you push in the earphone and it pushes this over to here. And that opens up. So this is the output. Here. So the output through it is not restricted by this resistor, but the output this away. Hey, when's this guy ever get hooked up? It's not hooked up to anything. What the bejesus is going on here? Okay, so this must be, I don't know, this is the ground? Ground going back, it looks like it. Yeah, because it came down this way too, ground. So that's the ground. You shove in your earphone. You activate this switch, cutting the signal off. The signal then that reaches your earphone through here. It's just, it's just a weird, really weird way of showing this, I guess. I don't know, that's kind of weird. But anyway, there's a switch in there, of course, to shut off the speaker. So here we're following the output of the two channels. The other one, just for the sake of making sure, 11, round down, over, up into here. Yeah, there it is. So here they are. So these are the two outputs heading for the speaker. And then for some reason, it's not quite the same here. This is not the same. There's two wires coming out of here. Only one down here. So are they only sending one channel? Okay, so if we have the headphone out, this is the way the circuit is. There are two signals heading up. Of course, the left and right. Unpadded. They're heading up. They're arriving here. The two signals go to these two contacts, and you put a stereo plug in here with the ring tip and I don't know what the sleeve, I don't know what to call that, the middle contact. Gives you a stereo just the way you would expect. This just doesn't make sense to me what they've done here. I can't say I've ever noticed anything funny listening to FM. I wonder if you can only get stereo if you plug in a stereo plug. These switches aren't switching stereo on and off. So in other words, as long as the plugs are out, the thing is running in mono. I don't see how that could happen. Come on. Okay, one more time. Signal coming in, going through this little switchy thing here, heading out on this wire. Signal's heading out. What it's doing going over here and all this stuff, I don't know. But there's all this AM air out. AM air out. Air out. What the dot's there for? What? The aircraft band, I mean, that's what it has to be. What? So what are they saying here? Are they saying that the output from this stage and sync, they don't really say what it is, what's going on here. Hey, there's a left-right out. So where are they getting their signal from? Okay, let's track back here. I'm going through some operational amps. Input is here. Coming out of what looks like I think that's a cathode follower out, and the signal get to here. Now coming out of here, air out. wired into there. Oh my god, I'm not going to be able to sort this out. This would take a long time for me to sort all this out. So from the volume control, so where'd they go? There they are. So to the volume controls, that's really what I want to say. Yeah, so there's another, I was going to say cathode follower, another emitter follower, whatever kind of technique that is. Here. Going through all this schmozzle here. The tone controls are here, they're not labeled. Tricky guys, they save the labeling. They just labeled them up here. I didn't label them down here. This is the tone control network. Here's the signal that's peeled off and sent to the left channel. Phono line level outputs. So wait a second. I started down here on the volume control. Line level's not volume controlled. The volume controlled signal is coming out of here. Non-volume controlled signal must make it up to this point. Get there from here. Here. Ooh. So this is an output from here. Yeah, back through here. Output there. So the input's got to be right in here. This must be the input here. These two are. These have to be the input to the output. So here we see what, I don't know what this means. Oh, this is probably labeling this wire. Oh, wow, I'm not going to follow all that craziness. Oh, look at this up here, too. AM, FM, wow. Yeah, there's a reason why I work on tube radios. Wow, this looks like this is the radio right here, inside that chip. So it could be this chip does certain things, AM, FM, but it won't do other stuff, so they have other chips doing the other bands, and that's maybe what's going on here. So where's this getting me? It's getting me nowhere, because this schematic still looks the same here. It hasn't changed. So would they be slapping a ground on one of these channels? How did this not make any sense? Be firing up one of these transistors and clamping down one line to ground, activating the speaker. You know, they'd be clamping down one of the output lines from the other amplifier. So I guess my little brain just can't conceive of this. But you know what? The sound we're getting out of the speaker is exactly this kind of thing. Hey, let me tune in a stereo signal and see if the speaker comes to life. Hot diggity dog, because we're listening to a mono station. Okay, stereo. We're listening to the speaker full blast on a mono signal. Turn it down. Hunt down a stereo signal here. You don't have to do it that way. 89.1, I think it was weak. Oh, so it's kind of flashing the stereo. That's not good enough. The other station, 95.7. Not quite. 95. Oh, 0.3. You know what? I made a mistake there. 95.7. It didn't give the radio time to actually switch over. Bonk. Come on, be stereo. Okay, so it's now stereo, but the speaker's no different. Holy smokes, man, this radio just doesn't give up with the challenges. Wow. I've actually plugged speakers into the... I'm going to actually plug real McCoy speakers into that speaker jack on the back here. See what happens. I ran all over the place looking for the cords I need to hook up these speakers when I suddenly realized I just have to plug some headphones in back there with a big plug. So that's what I'm going to do. Unfortunately, I can't share the result directly. I'll put these on. What is going on in this radio? I can't kind of share the result here. Okay, there's the mic. There be the headphones, and I'm now going to turn this up just a little wee bit. Yeah, it's all there. Okay, it's all there. Why isn't it coming out of the stupid speaker? What? It literally, is it? I don't get it. It's got to be the way it's shown on the schematic, and that's why this is not working. And so, oh my gosh, those were the headphones blowing away. Almost. It's incredibly distorted too. You know what we're hearing? Okay, so if we're sending common mode signals to the speaker, which is what I'm saying is happening, the left channel, right channel are mono, so they're going up and down together like this. And so the speaker is seeing no potential difference. And so it's just going to sit there and do nothing until I turn this radio all the way up to the point where there's distortions. Now the signals aren't perfectly identical, and the difference signal is making it to the speaker. And it's terribly distorted, of course. How they had this thing arranged to work before, I don't know. But I got to do something about it. I have to apply a single ground, to one of those two pins. This is just nuts. If I had any notion that this radio was going to be this difficult to fix, I guess I would have had to just grin and bear it anyway, because you got to do what you got to do. So there's the plug. What are the chances now that this plug is in trouble? Well, we'd find out pretty quick if I turn this up and wiggle it. Nah, there's no chance. There's no chance. There's really no chance that that's the problem. So my options now are to fiddle around with the solder connections on here and apply a ground from underneath somehow. So when you plug it in, you get the ground, you get one channel, you get some sound. Get the ground, you get some sound. You get one channel. But normally I'm listening to mono anyway. The other way is a couple other ways. I nip one wire here and solder it to ground. Find another jack in here. And, no, I won't. No. I'd like to do this in a way that can be undone. So probably, if I fiddle, you saw what I had to do. I had to get my Dremel out and grind away bits of the board. I have to do the same thing under here to fiddle with this. So grounds, this is a ground right here. Here and here. These are all ground points, any one of which I could easily use. It'd be real easy to cut this wire, stick it over there. You know what's going to happen? I'm going to put the back on this radio and it's going to not come off again. It's not going to come off again for 5 or 10 years. And by 10 years from now, this may not be my radio anymore. So there's a red wire. And what can I do up in here on the back of the speaker? Because I can also cut it there and ground it, but that's pretty awkward. A lot better to do it down here on a decent ground point. I'm going to solder onto these guys. I'm going to butter them up. These will still produce stereo. That's right. Everything is happening past the volume control, and that has nothing to do with these two outputs. These guys will always produce stereo. So what am I sweating over now? So I need to find a good ground point to solder to. Perhaps a component with a grounded connection. Let me take a look into this before I get too far into this. I'm going to overlook an option, overlook an opportunity for something really simple. Okay, so I'm looking down at the two contacts there. Why don't you look down with me? And now I'm looking for my camera. Here it is. So there's the speaker plug. Clearly there's the two terminals. It's hard to see the trace there. Trace going one way to that big pad there. I don't know what that is. Is that a test point? And the other one going. Come on now. Never seen such a runaround. The other one going way on down there. You think that big pad there is a see there, yeah, there's a big circle down there too. These must be test points. In fact, that one looks like it's been messed around with. They probably are test points. Ah, you can see it looks like somebody's put their meter on it there and scratched that one up a little bit. So, wow, okay, so and those, going back to the two pins then, yeah, fat chance I can break those connections. You know, it's a lot simpler to just cut that wire and do something with it. And what would we do with it? Oh, well, wait a minute, let's go back here. Is there a nice ground terminal just under here I can get it onto? Any of this stuff ground? Oh, look at that. None of those look very good. Huh. Yeah. Oh, it's the power one. Oh, I gotta fix those. They're all failing. See the cracks in them? These are gonna fail. That's not much better. I've never had anything plugged in that jack until today. That doesn't really look cracking. This one kind of does. No surprise. I've worked the power thing, of course, for years. So, okay, we'll touch those up for sure. Should have done that automatically anyway. Cut the wire, stick it to ground. Now my ground options. So on the power cord coming in, wouldn't one of those be an excellent ground point? Okay, I see things here. So on these two connectors, you can see the outside here goes in and connects to that terminal there that I'm poking with my fingernail. The other terminal is farther down. You can see the other terminal goes to a trace. See the trace disappearing? But the first one doesn't. Why? Because it's the ground point. Same thing here on the other channel. So those two terminals are soldered to the ground, I don't want to say plane, the ground thing, the ground sheet, the ground mat. We can call it a ground mat. Maybe that's a good word for it. So all I gotta do is cut one speaker wire, attach it there. Can I get that wrong? Not according to the schematic. Either wire, either speaker wire grounded should make the speaker work. Holy crap. Well, this isn't a big risk. I mean, I can always undo everything I'm about to do. You know, unless there's smoke, flames, and fire involved. Which I wouldn't expect. I am now ready to go forward boldly on this wire. So I'm going to cut it not right at the connector. Always leave a little for future corrections. I'm going to cut the white one because I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter. More famous last words. Tuck that around like that, and hopefully get the back on with that stick in that wire there. I hope well, that might be the problem right there. But at least we can get a test done here. Boy, oh boy. There's just a little too much wire exposed there. What I'm going to do. Oh, sorry, I'm stepping in front of that camera more and more these days, but I do want to get this done. I really do want to have this back. Radio plays an important role for me when I'm using my really old, my Hammerlin SP600 and that. I can't really tell what frequency I'm dialed to, not with any precision. So this is the radio I use to match the Hammerlin. I like using the Hammerlin radio. It's just great. It's just a great experience tuning that radio around. Although when I want to find out what it is I'm listening to, just concentrating here briefly, a little brief concentration. Let's bring it down through here. I hope there's clearance for this. What was that funny sound? That was a funny sound. Okay, forgot what I was just talking about. It's a funny sound. It's a speaker. Why would a speaker be popping there? Why would it pop? I still had the set on. This is a problem. Is there DC voltage there? Okay, power on again. Can't have a DC voltage rolling through my speaker. And you wouldn't really realize it necessarily until it's all too late. DC voltage. I can't imagine there is. How could there be? This is a ground. What? Oh, you know what? The radio's not on. because I turn the power off and I turn the power back on, the radio does not come back on. I have to turn it on. Turn it on with the switch. Where's the switch? There it is. Okay, so the radio is now on. Ooh, repeat those tests. Repeat those tests. I almost made a mistake there. Oh, for crying out loud. That's probably part of why they have it wired the way they had it wired, but now I'd have to put a fat capacitor in there. Bias voltage leaking up through here, not leaking, but that has to be blocked. You know, this isn't like a you know, transistor outputs, driving speakers work a little differently than tubes do. I can't believe I just can't believe it. That is not a ground. That is a ground. I should have cut the red wire. The other one is the one I should be grounding the red wire. I should be keeping the white wire as a signal. What's on this connector down here? Nothing, of course. But if I take a ground point back to that connector, we get 4. And we get 4. We get the same DC voltage on either side. Yeah, it's not coming through. It is not coming through here at all. Whoops. Can't have that. Feeding an audio signal through a capacitor. Not got much experience doing that. Let us just see what we've got here. So this is a bipolar capacitor. Claims to be a 2 microfarad. Is that enough to make a speaker work? I don't know. I don't know. Sounds like it. Okay, let's hook this up temporary. So I can get at the volume control here. Capacitor. From the capacitor to the ground. I'm going to try to write the radio, and probably all this stuff will fall off of it. Let's see. Yeah, the ground came off, but I can surely find another spot. A little volume. Yeah, a little volume's right. I think something went wrong here. Okay. It's just bad connection. Could be the tone is wrecked. Oh, let's put on some FM there if I can get it there. Could be the tone is wrecked, and we want to go to 95.7. Hear me whisper that? Stereo lights on. Oh yeah, I'm having trouble back here. Okay, that's what 2 microfarads does. Supposedly 2. I got more in here. Let's see what else I got. So these are all non-polarized capacitors. I'm guessing they're all going to be about the same. 2. They're all going to be 2s. Wait a minute, this one says 50. Okay, let's try a 50. Copyright, copyright. Okay, so the 50 really helped out. I got something even bigger in here. I didn't realize there's a 20. I have a bunch of 50s. 50. So I could double up and put 100 in there. Hey, is there a DC voltage across that? If there is, then I can put an even bigger capacitor in there. Yeah, there's going to be a DC voltage across this. It's just getting better. It's just getting better now. I'm on the upswing. I'm riding the upswing here. DC voltage. That 4 volts should be sitting here. Negative. So I got the leads reversed. So yellow is the positive one. Well, let's put some whopper in here. Capacitor that can stand 4 volts. I got all kinds of whoppers. A lot of low voltage, very large low voltage capacitors here. Pick one that's really nice looking. That's nice looking. That's a 50. That's the same as what's in there. It's something ridiculous. 2200. That's ridiculous. Let's try that. Okay, 2200. Positive was the yellow. Positive was the yellow. Volume up.
Really high voice. Sounds like I can't tell you why. Records and rock stars.
Doesn't sound terrible, does it?
Jeff Woods.
Positive, positive. Quite the pop on the speaker there. Bass is better. That's it. I think I've reached the end of this journey. So I just got to fit this in here. There's a huge space available here for all this stuff. Okay, I'm going to work on that. Get this capacitor into place. Get it all hooked up, and we'll test it again. Okay, I got this guy wired up now. Temporary. I haven't soldered anything. See the capacitor hanging there. Speaker wire and a lead to a ground point. I'm picking this terminal on the capacitor here, which I double checked. It's definitely a ground. Okay, and all we got to do to test this is turn the volume up. Fantastic. It's like 95. Oops, try again. 95.7. Ah, it's okay. Not to worry. It's working. Okay, so I just got to clean this up. Whoops. Solder this up. And tie it all down. Oh my gosh, my radio's coming back. It's coming back. Okay, a little bit of Now watch me introduce a problem while I do this. No, don't watch me do that. Everybody look away. Look away. Very good. Okay, I'm just neating this whole guy up now and make him look like whoever was fooling around with this radio knew what they were doing. That's all part of the trick here. There we are. Just going to strap that guy right in there. It's a spot I can tie wrap him, and then I'm putting the cabinet back together. We're going to check it again. Well, here it is. All back together. Power's on. Let's give it a go. Power. Volume. Oh! What happened? Where'd that sound come from? You gotta be kidding me. Well, I got more problems here. Are stuck. That's what's going on here. There. Oh, wow, that was close. The volume just doesn't go to zero. Well, a long time ago I realized how to make the volume go to zero on this. Zero volume now. Just by, this could have been my solution all along, by the way. Just cut the speaker off by shoving anything into there. Let's hook up the audio here. Just see if see if it works. There we go. Through my mixer. First, from the earphones. Okay, turn up the mixer a little bit here. Okay. Let's put these guys in. Oh, I know why it's dead. It's dead in my headphones. Okay, microphone volume's off. Oops, sorry, I'm talking to you without a microphone. Now, this is the speaker output. We'll just try the same thing and see if this actually still works. Ooh, that's not going to work out, is it? Not to worry about it. Well, the fact is, if you're going to take this radio somewhere, you're going to listen with this speaker. The fact that you turn the volume down and there still remains a small amount of sound is not critical, because you just turn it off if you don't want to hear it. When you're actually using it, you want the volume up a bit anyway, right?
It's all over the house. He laid one kid flat out on the kitchen floor like, holy Christ, Timmy's gonna need a telephone this year. He's down.
That's our national broadcaster, the CBC, by the way. You have a lot of comedy shows on there. It's not all news and weather. Lots of comedy shows, in fact, on the CBC. Okay, I'm done. That's it. I am done. This radio can go back into service. It's going to work for me perfectly fine. Man, what a journey. I'm almost sorry I dragged you all through it, but believe me, I didn't drag you through all of it. There was a lot more that went on with this radio that never made it to video. So, anyway, wow. What's next? I hope it's something fun. Well, I only discovered that I put this capacitor in backwards when I was editing the video just a few minutes ago, so I actually took the back off the radio and I corrected the polarity on here, just so I can sleep at night. Thanks again for watching.